Well, howdy folks, welcome back to the channel. We are still working on old private parts here. As you saw with the last video, we got all of the Bondo issues resolved. So all the Bondo's out of it. That needs to be removed. So today we're going to work on, because we decided to go ahead and paint the outside and the inside. Today we're going to start working on taking things apart on the dash, removing some of the decals that are on there, and basically, getting prepped and ready for, to go ahead and prime and paint. We are going to, in this video, we're going to get the bare metal stuff primered, and then as far as the rest of it, we're not going to be primering over the old paint. And I'll tell you why. And we'll show you why here. Okay. Look back on this corner here, and this is the color that that we're going to be painting. This also is we went ahead and painted over this color here, this darker OD green, which was the color that Private Parts was when we got him. You can see the difference between there and there. All we did here was just scuff it up a little bit and paint it. And so we're just going to go ahead and just kind of do a scuff and squirt on all of the other surfaces, that are still painted. So everything that's been taken down to bare metal, obviously we're going to run some primer over. But at any rate, we need to go ahead and start taking some stuff off the dash, and we're going to pull the everything off of there so we can get to things. We also have to get the windshield frame here taken care of and prepped. So hopefully we can get enough done in this video that we can start laying some base down, some of the OD green. But we'll just have to see how far it goes. So at any rate, stick around and we'll get to work here. Alright, we need to start out here because we're going to pull this light switch out. One of the other problems that we've got with this light switch is the lock here isn't spring loaded anymore. I've got another one of these light switches in the part shed. And so we're going to probably replace this light switch, but we have to remove all of the levers off of the light switch so that we can get it removed from the dash. We've got those all out. That's all it takes to go ahead and remove those. We're going to remove the ignition switch. Now that, because this is kind of a tapered, got a little bit of a taper on it. But yeah, we need to clean this out anyway. So we're going to remove that. We're also going to remove the data plates. Now, I first thought that these were just sheet metal screws, but they are not. They are actually a machine screw. Now, be careful with these because these little screws are going to be would be easy to lose. Alright, now we got to get a Phillips head screwdriver, pop these 4 screws loose, and then we can push the switch out, and then we need a wrench to go ahead and push the ignition switch out. Let's try 11/16 here. Yeah. ignition switch is out. And this, clean this off. Actually, I think what we're going to do is we'll get the screw gun, but we'll use a regular screwdriver to break them loose. That way we don't tear up the screw heads too bad. There we go. Now we're going to have a nice flat surface to go ahead and sand on here. We'll go ahead and remove this screw for the chain, for the pins for the windshield, and then we'll go ahead and go on to some of this other stuff. All right, now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to pull these Adele clamps. These clamps here are for the lines for the the vacuum hoses for the wipers. And these don't have nuts on the back side of them. These are threaded. And we're going to pull the vacuum hoses loose from the hard lines. But before we do that, let's go ahead and remove the turn signal. We're going to pull this connector loose here. We are going to be pulling the steering wheel as well. We'll pull that connector loose. And then hopefully that the camera's pointed in the right direction here. And now we'll pull the hose clamp that holds everything together here. Now we're going to have to definitely do some cleanup here. We're also going to need to get the switch for the vacuum switch here for the wipers. And all of these have nutserts behind, on the dash. So that makes it a whole lot easier to go ahead and pull all this stuff loose. Now, we're going to have to get that one loose here in just a minute. We're going to have to grab a pair of pliers for that. Now, you see how much dirt and everything is behind all of this stuff. And you don't want to try painting, OD truly does not stand for over dirt. Although, believe me, there have been plenty of times that I have done that. of this wiring up and underneath the dash, just so that it's out of the way, so we don't end up, you know, if it gets a little bit of overspray on it, it's not going to be the end of the world. And on this one here, that out of the way. All right. Now we're not going to go ahead and pull the choke cables out. We're just going to mask over those, and the throttle cable as well. But we still need to find our razor blade and get these decals removed. Okay. I can't find my razor blade tool. What I do have is this, and this is just a little removal or knife tool for an oscillating tool, and that isn't going to work. Okay, I couldn't find my paint scraper, but I did find this. The paint scraper, I think, went the way of a little house of lost tools somewhere. Well, a paint scraper is definitely razor blade type paint scraper is definitely a better way of doing this than this, but the X-Acto blade seems to be working pretty good. And you're still going to have some of this sticky residue that you're going to have to get off, and we'll get that removed with some acetone. We've got this one here. And then this one here. Now you don't necessarily have to have these stickers, you know, when you're working on your Jeep. It just depends on, you know, what you want to do. Because I've seen pictures of, you know, Jeeps with this particular warning label. You know, I've seen it painted on with a stencil. It just depended on the unit and, you know, what they had available in their motor pool at the time. Sometimes you get units with frickin' lazy ass supply sergeants, and you know, that don't want to look for anything that can make their troops' life easier. I run across a couple of those in my time, and they are no fun to deal with. What I found when I was in supply as an armorer is that, and I educated myself to know what was stuff that had to have a hand receipt and was accountable, and stuff that wasn't. If it was stuff that wasn't accountable, if it was like a troop comfort item, man, I would try to get that kind of stuff in, and I would give that shit out. And you know, the guys, you know, like to deal with me, and because I was the armorer, they actually would spend a little bit of extra time making sure that their weapons were clean when they did turn-ins. You know, weapons turn-in at the end of our drill weekends. It made my job go a lot easier. If I made it easy on them, they made it easy on me. Yeah, razor blade paint scraper would have worked a lot better on this, but we'll just fight through it. There we go. Now we'll get some acetone and get that stuff cleaned up. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to pull the transmission cover off. We need to go in and check the clutch anyway. And then we'll go ahead and paint the transmission cover separately. But this will make sure that we can get into these areas here that are behind this and get those painted as well. That way, and we can also check for, you know, flake, crack paint stuff, you know, like this area here. We're gonna want to blend that all back in and clean that up. So let's go ahead and pull the transmission cover off. The first thing we got to do is pull the shift knobs off. And I think I've got a nice new shift knob for this one here. As long as we're making everything pretty, we might as well make everything pretty. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is pull the shifter boot off. That makes that a little bit easier. We are going to replace the seal around the four-wheel drive shifter and the parking brake as well. Come on off of there. There we go. I think next time I'll pull this cover off here, and when we go to put it back together. So this way we can get all of this cleaned up, sanded down. We got flaking paint here and all kinds of stuff, and then it looks like we're going to need to do some pressure washing in here too. Okay, now we've got to, I want to get the power cable out because I want to pull this out of here. So we have to get in here and pull the power cable loose from the mount, from the radio mount. Now we're going to repaint this stuff too. This stuff is all painted in the Kark green, and this one's got longer bolts that need to be replaced with shorter ones. And I'll be honest with you, I am not 100% certain when these double stack radio racks came into the system. They may not be period correct for a Vietnam era A1 Jeep. So, if that's the case, well, if that's the case, tough, because honestly, I like having this rack like this. Okay, we're going to end up pulling all the tools out here in just a little bit. We're also going to pull the battery box cover off. We're going to repaint that separately. We'll probably pull all the tools out as well, and then get the inside of the toolbox. We're not going to pull the gas tank. We're just going to paint that the way it is. And that sponson over there had been painted once before with the correct color, the color I'm using now. And so we're probably just going to clean everything up, kind of scuff that up and go over it one more time. But I'm also going to pull these cables out, pull the Adele clamps off, pull those cables out. That way we're not having to paint over cables. This one here, when we get into the battery box, we'll get that loose and pull that out. So we're going to have quite an extensive reassembly process. But right now, we've got to get this data plate off. What's interesting is this data plate, which is a replacement. It shows this as an M151 straight, which technically, according to the serial number and the date of delivery, it should be an M151 straight, but it is not. So somewhere along in Pvt Parts' career, somebody, I believe, before it got released from the military, probably did some data plate swapping. Alright, now let's go ahead and get these screws undone. I think these are just sheet metal screws. Okay, normally you would have your antenna mount with the matching base for a single radio installation over on the passenger side. I went ahead and mounted this one on the driver's side because I already had an antenna mount on the passenger side. It was a smaller, very early one, and somebody had installed at one point in time a tower for a fording kit, and so the holes were already drilled for that, which are very similar to the hole pattern for this. That's the reason why I put it there, and that's the reason why we have these cables reaching from the driver's side over to the passenger side. So let's go ahead and get these things snaked out of here. I already snaked them out through the grommet and the back of the body. So there we go. All of these are out of the way. This way we can get everything cleaned up too. Because trying to paint over cables is just, I don't like it. Alright, the next thing we want to do is we're going to pull this cable out. So we got to pull the battery cover off. Now, we don't have the right mounts for this, but what we did, the previous owner, what he did was he took, this is an old Army sleeping pad, and cut it out so that it insulates the batteries here from from the cover. So what we're going to do here, let's see, here is the, alright, let's go ahead and pop, get the batteries loose. I think we may go ahead and just pull them out, but maybe not. Okay, as we are going to have to, we've got a bunch of crap down in here we got to clean out. So I'm going to pull the power cable loose for the radio power cable. I'll pull that off of there. And then it is grounded, not to a battery, but it is grounded to a body ground. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna end up pulling these batteries out anyway. This way we can get the battery tray cleaned out and make sure we don't have any corrosion in there. I know there's a guy that makes the correct you know, amount or cover for the E51 or for the 51 size batteries, but I ain't got the money for one of those right now. So we're just gonna have to live with what we got. It has survived 30-something years this way. And if I feel the need to change it, then I'll change it at some point in time. Ugh. Yeah, you can see inside the battery box here, it's kind of dirty. Well, what is this? That's a tag off of something I bought in military vehicle meet 2 years ago. Alright, get this cable out. We gotta go into the toolbox, remove the tools. You can see we definitely need to get the toolbox cleaned out and the battery box cleaned out. Alright, we're just about to the point to where we need to get the shop vac in here, get some of this stuff vacuumed out, and then start cleaning up. We're going to have to go in with a sponge or a rag or something and get all of this, you know, the dust and stuff, the mud that didn't quite get cleaned out when we pressure washed him. Well, we've got to get this stuff all mopped out of here, and then I think what we're going to do is probably tomorrow, because you guys can't hear it, but it's getting pretty windy outside, and we're going to be doing we're going to be pushing Private Parts back outside to go ahead and do the primering and painting. But right now, you know, what we've got to do first, obviously, is we have to get the, finish sanding, making sure that we've got everything sanded down. and ready for the primer. And like I said, we're only primering the spots where we have bare metal. So let's go ahead and, I think we're just about to the point, except for the gauge panel, we're just about to the point to where we can go do a final kind of touch up. And oh, we do have to pull the air cleaner. I want to pull the air cleaner out so we can repaint the bracket and repaint the air cleaner as well. All right, let's get this air cleaner off. Get the hose off of here. Let's pull the top off. Let's get the inside element and element pulled out. Yeah, there's quite a bit of ickiness there. We're going to take this directly over to the parts washer, the solvent tank. Now we're going to pull the cup out that has the oil. And that's pretty icky as well. We need to get a pan. This one's nasty and icky already, so. Oh, let's show you guys something here. You can see once I pulled the cup here, there's still oil down on the bottom. And what that happens is by bouncing around, you know, out in the boonies the way that I do, some of the oil kind of splashes up and it'll go ahead and migrate down into there. It's not a big deal, but it happens. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and get the air cleaner out. Okay, we got a Ziploc bag, and we're going to put a Ziploc bag over the carburetor and put a hose clamp on it because we do not want the carburetor. I need to find what I did with my screwdriver. Now, why would I have done something stupid like putting it away in the toolbox? But we do not want any of the dust from sanding or anything else like that getting into the carburetor. That will keep that sealed up. Now I think we can start putting some tools away. Get our sanders back out so we can touch this area up here, which we can do with this little thing right here. Now this little thing works really pretty good, especially for getting down into some of these little spots where there's still some Bondo left. They're real low spots, but they've got huge scratches in them from the grinding from the grinder. Now I wasn't using an actual grinding wheel. I was using the sanding disc, but it was like 60 grit, so it left big huge scrapes in the Bondo, which is going to show through no matter what. So by going in with this, and I've got like 120 grit on this little triangular pad here, and it's a little worn down, so it goes ahead and it'll smooth those little Bondo spots up, like right here. You can see this spot right here, and you can see there's some big old gouges right there. So we're just going to take this thing. Going to remove some of the Bondo, but it's also going to remove those big gouges. And like I said, on this project here, I'm not trying to make something with really smooth body lines. So at any rate, right now, we're going to go ahead and just kind of go around the Jeep. I'm actually going to throw a new pad on here. And we're just going to kind of go around everywhere. And, now, we haven't even gotten into the prep work that we've got to do on the windshield. We started on it a little bit here. But, the prep work on the windshield and on the some of the other parts, we've got to go in and sand those down, clean those up. This paint here that I'm using seems to stick really well. I have another project that I use this brand of paint on that's bare aluminum and bare rubber, and 2 coats, and the rubber stuff will flake off, which can't help that. But the aluminum that it goes to is just bare metal. The only finish it has to it is it's been bead blasted, and that stuff sticks real well. So it's almost a direct to metal paint, not exactly, but almost. think most of the sanding's done that needs to be done. We've got them washed out. We've got, you know, the worst of the dust blown out with air. But we have a couple of spots. We got a couple of spots. We've got the battery box here that is still really filthy inside. And toolbox is not so bad, but we do need to get in and probably with the pressure washer and get that get those areas washed out. And then we're also going to hit the back of the transmission as well. Top of the gas fuel tank there. And probably down in the footwells a little bit. But, you know, we're going to need to go ahead and get that done and then let him dry overnight. And then we'll have to, and then come back tomorrow. We should be able to hit the all the bare metal parts with wax and grease remover and hit it with the primer. So I'll go ahead and time lapse the pressure washing, and then after that is done, we will see you in the morning. All right, folks, it's the next day. You can see we've done some prep work. And of course, you can see we've got a little bit of a breeze going. When I started doing this, getting everything masked off, there wasn't a breath of wind. And as soon as I start getting ready, the wind starts picking up. So we're going to try to get this knocked out quickly so that we can go ahead and so that we can move Private Parts back into the building for the night. And hopefully the wind is going to cooperate with us so that we can get a couple coats of primer on this. So we better get to it and better get to it quick. Alright, first thing we're going to do is we got this spray bottle here. Rather than dumping the wax and grease remover onto the rag like we were doing before, and it just makes a big mess, we're going to go ahead and spray this on here. And of course the frickin' thing is going to quit working right. And go over, and then this is going to go ahead and remove all of the little bits of dirt and little bits of grease and things like that where we got a primer. You can see we're getting a little bit of grease off of there. There we go. All right, we've got the areas that we're going to prime hit with that wax and grease remover, and that should go ahead and let the primer stick really well. Now we got to get the primer mixed up. Okay, we're going to be using it's a Harbor Freight HVLP gun, gravity feed gun. I think we've got this set at about 20 psi, which is regulated over there. So let's get our mixing cup here, and according to Rapco's website, this should be mixed at a 2 parts or 3 parts paint, 1 part 3 parts paint and 1 part reducer. So we look on our little ratio cup, and that should be, this isn't the right one. Yeah, no, that's good. Okay. We are going to make, I'm sure, a fairly big mess because this primer can is pretty full. And we have mixed it up earlier today, and we were mixing on it for a long time because this stuff has been sitting for a while. So we're going to look at our cup here, and I think we're going to do, let's do about 4 ounces. There we go, 4 ounces there. And then the rest of the reducer we're going to be using is xylene, and that's what they recommend. That should do it. Mix her up real good. I don't think we're going to need this much primer, but I'd rather have a little bit too much in the gun than not quite enough. And we need to get a strainer. Alright, so we're going to pour our paint in here, or our primer in here through a paint strainer that we're going to throw on the ground. Now we're going to test our pattern out on the old hood. Looks like, yeah, we need to get some more air pressure on this. Alright, I think that's about it. So let's go ahead and start to prime in here. Well, it looks like the wind isn't going to cooperate with us, but we'll survive. All right, folks, we've got the primer on him. And as you can see, and we do have a few spots here and there that we may have to go in and touch up. Like this here, for some reason it kind of fish-eyed there, which it shouldn't have, because I did, I did the wax and grease remover, so it should have gone ahead and removed any of the oils, but evidently it may not have. So, like I said, we've got that spot there we're going to have to touch up. Probably hit it with some sandpaper. But other than that, it actually looks pretty good. So that's going to do it for this video, this week's video. Next week, we're going to be putting some color down on him. And we're going to be putting color on everything else. So we've got the hood. We've got a new hood for him. We've got to do the grill over there. That's got to be done. We have the antenna mount that's been removed. We've got the battery box cover, and a few other things that we're going to have to prep. We're not going to end up priming those. We're just going to scuff and squirt that stuff. So, any rate, thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you found it informative. Hope you were able to laugh at some of my screw-ups. That's okay. At any rate, but stay tuned for next week's video, because we are going to be putting some color on him. And we should be putting color on everything else. And then once that all fully cures, then we'll be able to start reassembling him. So, any rate, thanks again for watching. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you on the next one.